Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Rafizan. How's everybody's week so far? I've just run from a meeting to another meeting. Oh, seems to be running out of battery. Okay, so battery is on. I'm meeting everybody. I hope all of you can hear me clearly because today my line seems to be a little bit bad. So if you all have problem hearing me or anything like that, please notify me. Okay. Hi. Rafiza, Mingye, Azmira, Aida, Hong Yi, Zhao Yue, Anja, Ru Xing, Feng Ting, Zi Qiang. Jinghan, Carrie, Gary. Hello, I want to ask whether can we come back to the university to use the library? Of course, Gary. Okay, that's one thing I would like to inform all of you. Right now, because we are moving towards CMCO, right? From what I understand is that students can go back to use the facilities, but you need to, I think, register via the students portal, right? You have to fill in the declaration form and everything. Then you can go back and use the library. So that's what I understand, lah. Okay, let's see how many of you. Wow, we have 28 of you right directly at this time. That's very good. And let me take a look. Now, first question. Uh, everybody had your dinner yet? Nay, nay. Mingya say nay, nay. Not yet. Too early for dinner. Gary, diet. Are you sure you're on diet, Gary? Or you have just not decided what to eat? Since we always say you're very undecided, not even the things that you eat. I never used it because I've been in China over 1 year. Never used what, Feng Ting? You mean the student portal and all that there? 1 year ago. Oh, the library. Oh, no. Okay, yeah, because you're not able to get the physical library, right? But I'm not sure. Feng Ting and all the students in the China, all of you are coming back soon, right? Because from what I understand, I know that there's an email going out telling all the international students to make plans to come back. Right? You all received the email, so are you all planning to come back? I think the email went out like quite a long time ago that the international students are required to come back. So yeah, international students return. Oh yeah. So basically, this letter was sent out by Ashley on the 16th of January. Decided that it is compulsory for all international students to arrive or return to Malaysia on or before 15th of March. So I'm not sure how this is going to work because apparently, again, this is not something that comes from me. Student visa is still processing. I see. Because I think I understand that they send an email out and then the process is supposed to begin for all of you to do your visa and all of that to start planning your return. Now for master students, the thing is the declaration is not on the app anymore though. Actually, Gary, I'm also not very sure because because for us staff, we just need to go back and then we have our own system to access. Not sure about student though. Feng Ting visa is overdue for 6 months. Still, alamak. How come, Ida? Because I've already sent an email informing them, I gave, remember last week, I asked which one of you doesn't have an access. And then there seems to be like so many of you who are like, and I gave the whole list last week of Ida, Rafiza. Oh, wait, somebody's mic is on. Okay. Okay, all right. So, yeah, last week I gave a name list of Ida, Rafiza, Dalkin, Nurul Putri, Queenie, and Anastasia. So I actually explained and told the KPAM to handle this because I say your schedule doesn't seem to be appearing on your times yet. So I'm not, but they have not really updated me, so I'm not sure. Putri, so far as I know, there's no update yet because even I'm not sure what is the latest status of all the students' update. I'll follow up on that. Okay. So far, no sound. After I fill up the form on your behalf, I send it to the top management. They are supposed to take the list for appeal. So let's see how it is. I'll follow up on that. Okay, Putri. I do get a message saying that there's update on the timetable, but the status is still the same. Hi, you, waya. Hey, I hate all these system issues. Well, okay, now what each one of you can do, okay, for the list of the 6 people. Now, the list of people is Ida, Rafiza, Dalkan, Nurul Putri, Queenie, and Anastasia. Anyone else who doesn't have access? Only you all, right? Okay, no more. Okay. So one thing at a time, so many questions coming from all of you. Okay. So in terms of this times thingy, let's just I will again send a reminder. If say by coming week, right? Next week class, if you still don't get the access to it, what we're gonna do is that we are going to I need all of you to then spam KPAM, the email of KPAM. Okay, maybe all of you should start doing that. For the ones who are still unable to access, right? Ida, Rafiza, Dalkan, Nur Putri, Queenie, Anastasia, send your email to this address, kpam@taylors.edu.my. Explain your situation. Because you see, when I send an email and they never really responded to me, I need all of you to spam them as well. Then they will see the urgency to actually do something about it. Okay? So please do that, yeah? Okay, so that's the first, okay? And then, yeah, okay, now for all the international students, what I understand is the letter that went out on 1st of, from Ashley, okay, is to ask all of you to come back on, yeah, I think it's like kind of like back then they set the requirement to be arriving at 15th of March. But obviously then there was a lot of issues with visas and all of that. Please make sure that all of you liaise closely with the international office, okay? The international office will need to know your status and to be able to help you to come back. Okay, this term could be all online classes. Okay, so for now, again, I have not received any direction that we are to go back to campus for this semester. Please bear in mind that this can change at any time, that there could be a hybrid learning happening, especially, you see, I'm so sorry that I cannot give any of you like a sure answer of at this time we will go back to campus or at this time we won't be going back to campus. Why? Because it depends on the situation, whether things will be fine the moment we go back, whether it will be okay. So for now, everything is still online. But suddenly now the government say that, wow, when all international students come back, we're going to start planning for face-to-face classes. So like I think even the university is like doing the planning, then the direction will come to us to do the classes. But right now, all the lecturers, including myself, the lecturers are encouraged to go back to the campus. And in March semester for the bachelor students, they are going back campus for some of their practical classes. So I think what the university is doing is that they're trying to bring people back batch by batch, slowly, batch by batch to come back. All right. But as to the full detail, then we will have to wait and see. And hopefully, when people are going back to campus, there is no issue. Then we can all go back to campus safely. But when is that going to happen? I don't know. But we just go by the university policy. So if the university says that all international students need to liaise with the international office to come back, then please do so, okay? So that your visa and all of that is taken care of, yeah? Also, in line with that, I think I need to tell all of you. So, to Gary's question for the declaration app, you may want to check with Campus Central as to how can you return to campus, because as far as I know, you can, but now I'm not sure. Doctor, if come back, how to deal with the visa problem? For me, was rejected last year. Need to redo the visa or not? Jinghan, I don't know much about visa because visa is always handled by the international office, right? So do check with the international office because international office handles your visa application. So you can check with them. So these are all hopefully. I think if let's say your visa was rejected, you may need to redo. So not sure about the full detail. You can check with them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, in line of that as well. Yeah. Everybody, I would like to also let all of you know, starting 1st of March, which is this week, I am no longer the program director for the Master in Communication program. My contract or my tenure as the program director has ended. Ida, you know it. Why do you have to give the reaction? You already know. Drama lah, Ida, right? Exactly. So yeah, I'm no longer the the program director for the Master in Communication program. We do have a new program director named Dr. Antun. Antoon. Antun. Okay. So he just came in this week on 1st of March. He just started. So I'm now in the process of transiting all of the things to him, So on the 18th of March, there will be a town hall organized for all of you to come and see us and talk to us. And a town hall is a time where you go and hit at us and say, "Wow, I want this, I want that." And in town hall is the time that you meet the head of school. And if you have any issue at all, you can just ask there for your master degree. Even if over there, if you want to complain about Dr. Ko, so you can do that. You can just say, "Why Dr. Ko like that? Why like that? Why like that?" You can complain about me even in the town hall, no problem, okay? But it is on the 18th of March during the town hall. I will be introducing all of you to the new uh, program director. So the town hall will be done during our class time at 6 p.m. for this class. So that will be in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so in 2 weeks' time, I think the town hall is just going to be a short one, say for 45 minutes, So we need to go back to campus. No, it will be an online town hall, just like this. Okay. So we probably go for the town hall, and then you leave that Zoom room, and then you come back to the next room for our class. So we go for the town hall, we finish the town hall, then we start our class for media management. Okay, it is there. I will introduce all of you to the new one. I'll introduce you all to the new program director. And don't worry, he's also a very nice guy. So you all can liaise with him if you have any issues at all. Just like how I hope that you all have been comfortable with me. Okay, even as the program director. Okay. So thanks everybody. Yeah, there'll be some side notes. My goodness, just the side notes itself already is 6:16. Remember, yeah, for all those of you who have not have access to your times, please bug capm@taylors.edu.my. Make sure you bug them, okay? Because if y'all got no access to times, I have problem, like, y'all won't have access to the notes and etc. But at least you have all the assignment briefs and all of that with you, right? Okay, now before anything, shall we I'm gonna just run through a lecture, okay, today. Officially we're gonna run our second lecture. Again, the note is on your times, okay. And I'm just going to go into some details about what we mean by organizing uh, a company, okay, and why you have to understand from a standpoint of overall uh, management point of view, okay, from the media organization. Then we're going to look into some case study as well, okay. So sit back, relax, have your coffee while you hear me explain to all of you what the lecture is about, okay. So I'm going to go through some things with all of you today, and then we'll have some discussion. Okay, we have some discussion. I'll ask some of your opinions, maybe, on what you think about the current situation of media management. All right. So let's start. Please hold on, yeah, because I seem to have messages coming in, and it's just yeah. Okay. I think everybody is looking at my screen. Yeah. Can I have a note in the chat saying that all of you are looking at my slide. Are you looking at my slide? Okay, good. All right. Okay, so sit back and relax, yeah? Now, today in our lecture, okay, you see, if you were to look at the learning outcomes of our course, there's a lot of learning outcomes from media management class. Again, I won't go into each one of it, but again, it's good for you to look through your module information brief to be reminded what are some of the main things why you are doing this particular class, okay? Now, today we're going to talk a little bit about the way how a organizational organization do their organizational structure and how they organize themselves. All right. Now, in every company, whether you are a media organization or whether you are a normal company, obviously you have to have all of these things in place, right? You need to have your strategy, your mission, and your goal. So what is strategy, mission, and a goal? um, I think we discussed this last week as well, right? We talk about coming out with the most important mission and vision and all of that. So we talked about that last week, and then of course, in every company, you need to have technology, right? What is the skills that is needed to run your business, and what is your specialization? Now, even as you are running a media company, whether it's social media, digital media, or you're looking at traditional media, obviously within your company you need people who have the skills, who have the skills to run the business, and who are specialized in writing, in editing, in layout, in driving the traffic, in marketing, in advertising. Obviously every media organization needs this technology and the human resources, right? And the technology can sometimes be very specialized for your business. Say, if you are talking about newspaper, obviously there are some softwares that they use, right, compared to the ones who are in the TV industry, or compared to the ones who are in the social media, the streaming businesses, and so on. So the technology differs, but what is important to know is that obviously you need the technology, the human resources, and the strategy, and what you are aiming to achieve. And lastly, of course, how big is the organization? The bigger it is, the more specialization it needs, right? that's why the bigger the company is, you see them having more and more departments coming in. Now, what is organizing the organization? Obviously, if at the end of the day, if let's say you are the boss of a company, you need to align every single thing within the company to what you ultimately want to achieve in the business. Which obviously, if you are a commercial media, end of the day, you aim to earn money. You want to make profit while giving good quality news. The other day we are talking about, or a good PR service, or a good advertising services, right? So whatever your objective is as a media organization, you need to have a process ongoing, so that with whatever resources that you have and whatever situation ongoing in your environment, you will ultimately be able to achieve the objective you set out for. And of course, that includes who do what. Just like in any, you are doing group assignment, you need to specialize who do what according to their level of expertise. Same thing that goes for a company. People will do what they are good at, specialize in the activity. And of course, there has to be some form of standardization and coordination. It can't be that a person is doing A and then another person is also doing A, but the both, one is capital A, one is small a, right? Everything needs to be standardized so that everybody knows what to expect. Everybody is on the same page, and that requires a lot of communication, a lot of training, a lot of planning to standardize that everybody is on the same page and to coordinate the activities that is ongoing, right? And all of this, of course, is depending on whether you want to centralize the activity or decentralize. What is centralizing? Centralizing means you are a control freak. I'm just saying, right? Well, centralizing, just basically centralization is a process where everybody reports to one same center. Well, of course, when you centralize it, everybody reports to one same department, or every information comes from this particular department. The good thing about it is, of course, it becomes very consistent information, right? But of course, things can become very power centric, and then at the end of the day, it may curb creativity because everything goes back to this department. Therefore, there are some companies who do decentralization, where you do your thing, I do my thing, everybody do their own thing. Nobody reports to like only one main center. The power is being distributed equally to everybody. So again, everything needs to be adjusted according to the size of your employee. Now, at the end of the day, why is it that we need someone to manage the organization, or to basically run this process? Of course, you want to achieve your objective. Of course, you want everybody in your company to have a clear idea of their responsibility, what they need to do. Of course, they also need to know what is their level of authority and who has power over what. And when everything is well organized, the information flow is good, right? So those are just very simple reason why we need to organize. Now, what is the process that we need to do? Obviously, let's say you are hiring an intern. If you are hiring an intern into your media organization, or if you have people under you, you need to first of all clarify their job specification, right? You need to know, oh, okay, so you need to do this thing. Okay, you clarify their specification. You make sure that whatever they are doing, what the process that they are doing will ultimately help you to achieve your objective. You may say, "Ayo, doctor, come on lah. Everybody know what? Of course, you work means you just do your job. Then of course you're supposed to achieve the objective lah." But you see, the problem with many managers is that they lose focus on what is the main objective, and then they start to do a lot of side thing, and then they tell their employee, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Actually, whatever they ask the employees to do may not eventually help them to achieve the main objective. Okay, and of course you need to combine the job wherever you see possible, or delegate. Now, delegation is an art. That what does delegate means? Delegate means you divide the work to people. You know that there's one big project, who gets what, and that is an art of itself to know who to give what job to. I especially am the kind of manager that I like to take things on myself, and then I tend not to delegate because I feel like, yeah, if I do it myself, it probably be faster than if I delegate it to people. But obviously, that's not a good sign of a good leader, and that's not a good sign of a good manager. Why? Because if you are a manager and you try to do everything by yourself, you get burnout for one, and of course, at the end of the day, the job may not be completed within the time frame, and up to a quality where you have more brains than just yours alone. So, as a manager, you need to learn how to delegate and to have your job division, okay? And of course, you need to have a coordinating mechanism, how you want to coordinate with everybody. All right? My manager passed everything to me, hence I feel burned out every day. Poor Gary. Well, you see, that is, like I say, a very good point that you bring up, actually, Gary. That's what separates a good manager and a not so good manager, right? Because you get, when you go into working, whether, now let's talk about just organization as whole. There are managers who don't delegate enough. That means they try to do everything by themselves, and they just don't, and then they don't give clear direction to their subordinates what to do. Secondly, you have some lazy managers that will try to chuck and dump every single thing to their subordinate. So that's the two extreme, you know. And of course, these two extreme is not good. And at the end of the day, it's really about the manager and the worker trying to, that's why coordination. What is my role as a manager? And what is your role? That has to be clearly spelled out and explained in every single time that you are working with your colleague on any project. And of course, as a manager, you need to monitor their effectiveness. Whatever that you're doing, you have to have checkpoints and milestones. Are they meeting those milestones? Are they achieving things according to the milestones? Um, are they being effective in their job? All right, because of course, as a manager, you can't avoid having some people who are lagging behind their work when you're not checking on them. So you need to have milestone, but you also wouldn't want to be a micromanager, a person who just, like, as the person is working, you're just like at the back of the person looking at the screen all the time, monitoring every single action that this person is doing. You curb a person's creativity when you micromanage. Micromanaging means you try to look into every single little detail. So you can see that that is a good balance, all right? And you need to know how best to do that. That is one thing that I would say. You may say, oh, but what is the balance? Of course, it's easy to talk, but remember this, the more experience you gain in managerial position, the better you get at this. Delegation, coordination. But these are essential skills that you must have. Okay, delegations and coordination. And of course, even taking a master subject by itself, like whatever that you are doing now, you are slowly training yourself to look into all of this. How do you delegate? How do you coordinate? Think about yourself and how good you are at doing this kind of thing. All right. Now, I won't go into much detail for each of these. If you were to look at it, right, I just want to show all of you that the importance of having a job specialization. You yourself gotta ask yourself, what is your job specialization? How much quality do you have within your job? And how much authority do you have in your job? That's how deep that they call that the job depth. So when you as a manager, you assign someone to do a job, you have to explain to them what is their job depth and what is their job scope. Job depth means when I ask you to do this, what is your expectation of that job? and how much authority are you giving this person to complete that particular job. So the quality and the authority on the job depth, and of course, what is their scope? What is the variety level of things that this person needs to cover? And if let's say you find that their job become redundant, meaning they are doing things that they are not supposed to do or seems to be the similar with another colleague, you need to reevaluate that. These are usually spelled out under job description. Now, when you go out to work, obviously you get a job description or what you call JD, right? JD to tell you, okay, you take on this role, these are what expected of you. That's actually very important for you to know your job depth and your scope. But as a manager in future, you need to design the depth and scope for other people. So you have to think through how these things, how much quality you want from this person, what authority you are willing to give this person, how much variety of things you want him to do, and whether is there a redundancy in this job. Every good and competitive company will not keep redundant worker. That means if they think that whatever you are doing, another person can just do it for you, uh, then you are redundant. That's why to remain competitive in the working world, whether it be media company or any other form of company, it is very important for you to not be redundant. I'm telling you, if you are busy at your workplace, that's a good sign. If you are doing something that everyone else can do, if you are doing something that your colleague can easily take over, then that shows that you are not competitive in the market and you can be taken out from the game at any time. Especially post pandemic, everybody, when you are working, remember that you and me, I'm talking about myself as well, we can be redundant at any time if we choose not to upskill, if we choose not to take on more responsibility and to expand our skill. Right? So that's one very important things that we all need to look into for ourselves. Okay. Now, obviously, these are just some more basic stuff, right? Obviously, when you go into any company, you realize that there is actually a formal kind of organization or informal kind of organization. Now, informal organization, I think it's very easy to tell. When you go to the company, you realize that the company has all the departments set in place. Everybody got their own job scope, and there seems to be a very, serious structure that is ongoing. They have proper unit, they have proper department, they have proper job span, responsibility. Now, according to studies that I've seen before, okay, it is best if one person who is in the top management has 4 to 8 subordinates under them. And if you're a middle management, it's good to have 8 to 12 staff under you. That is the what you call the ideal and good ratio of a formal organization. But nowadays, you see the emergence of informal kind of organization. If you look at social media organization, the ones who are running online news portal, the ones who are running the online advertising agency, the ones who are running social media platforms, they no longer operate on a very formal structure, but most of them they work very informally, where they just kind of exist spontaneously based on whatever they do. There doesn't seem it's very fluid and moving, and I seems to see this happening more and more in social media companies or online companies because first of all, a lot of online media startups they don't have that many staff to begin with, and secondly, their job seems to always overlap each other. So when it's not always overlap with each other, they just kind of take a very informal way of doing it. And of course, nowadays, bosses, which are in media organizations, are made up of younger generation. Say, for example, 30 years old, 40 years old, and they are, yes, 40 years old for a manager is considered young in a media organization. And when they are that young, you kind of see that their tendency is less on hierarchy. They no longer emphasize on power as much, but more about output by individuals. So this particular structure seems to be not really used in quite a number of organizations. Now, if you were to look at it, right, when you go to a company, you always see that if let's say it is an informal company, this is how their structure will look like. They always have one main person, and then they have a few project managers. So let's say in media, right, they always have like, okay, you cover community, you cover this area, you cover that area, or you work on this special issue of this round live stream. So maybe they have a live streaming on COVID-19 cases. So you have one person who's in charge, and he can be just by himself. If you look at PM2, Project Manager 2, and Project Manager, they're just on their own because they're working on a special project. Then larger project, you have people who are working, executive who are working under the project managers. This model or this structure is very often used in advertising agency, PR agency. Why? Because PR agency, especially you are dealing with specific client. So when you're looking at specific client, you say, oh, so now my client is Sarawak Tourism Board. So therefore, I will assign somebody who is the project manager for the Sarawak Tourism Board. I'll give him a few staff who help them. Now, if you look at E1, E2, E3, E4, let's say these are the executive, you will realize that sometimes they are under project manager 1, sometimes they move on to help project manager 3 when project manager 3 needs people. That is what we call informal organization structure because they are not fixed. They help and they go according to project and according to situation. So there's no fixed structure to it. Okay. Now, organization chart is probably one of the most boring thing that you look into, right? When you go to a company, you always say, who is the director? Who is the... Hold on, I see chat. Let's stop there. Is there any benefit to do extra work outside of the job description? Would it be a chance of getting promoted? Or just take it as a casual help for the company as a part of being a loyal employee? Would it be rude to say no? Wow, those are very good questions. Let's pause for a little while here to address Nurul Putri's question. So Nurul Putri asks, in other words, let me sum it up. Is it good for you to go the extra mile and to do things beyond your job scope? What is everybody else thinking? What do the rest of you think? Anybody has an opinion on this? Maybe based on your working experience, or maybe based on just your thoughts and your opinion. Is it good to do extra more than what your boss asks you to? What do y'all think?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Gary.
So sorry, I want to type, but I think it's very long for that.
Please.
Putri actually asked a very good question because that's what I'm actually doing right now. Because I'm doing stuff that's legit out of my job scope itself. All right, legit, not kidding at all, legit out of
Okay.
job scope. So, but then I cannot complain so much because lah, like small company, everyone needs help here and there lah. So, if you was to ask whether is there any benefit to do extra work outside of the job description, definitely the benefit is where your recognition will be there and your credibility is there. Hence, if you're in a probation, if you're still in probation, they will instantly like you a lot and they will actually shorten your probation time. Or for example, your promotion or your bonus, they will actually take account into it and actually will help you increase your salary or your increment or whatsoever lah. But some depending on the manager itself, if your manager is very the emotional type, all right, no offense, you have to, it's best to do extra help because like sometimes you're scared that her emotions are a bit everywhere, so you cannot predict the outcome itself. So she might fire you anytime, or she might scold you at any time for no reason at all. So it really depends on the industry itself, lah. And actually, it's not rude to say no, but it's just that we can't say no to a lot of things. We adapt. We are a social creature that we can't say no to things, and we just accept everything on, and to be a corporate slave.
Well, Gary, your last sentence to be a corporate slave. Now, so therefore, at the end of the day, when you say you can't say no, do you think there's really no choice? Why do you feel that you do not have a choice to say no?
So a reason why I say that is because like okay lah, maybe for example at very last minute then I can say no lah. But if it's not very last minute, then uh I would gladly accept it with an open heart.
No,
That's all.
that's my question is why can't you say no?
I think I have no idea to be honest. It's a natural reaction to say yes.
So natural reaction to say yes. Uh, partially is it because you feel that you do not want to offend your colleague?
Yes, very much. I don't want to get fired as well.
Do you think you will get fired if you don't offer your help and you say no to things which are again beyond your job scope? Because now we are
Defin-
talking about beyond job scope.
Definitely I won't get fired lah, but it's just a reminder to say that my your bonus is not really much because of this, because of that here and there. Really depends on the manager itself, I would say. Like really depends, no?
Hmm.
It's either
Yeah.
that or I'm just in a very wrong line of industry, that's all.
Your industry advertising, right?
No financing,
Oh, financing.
financials.
Hmm. Okay, all right. Very good input. Very good input. Thanks, Gary, for the input. Well, from what Gary said, okay, is there a clear cut answer to this? Well, no. Uh, let me just dissect this one by one, okay? So basically, Puchi's question is that if let's say we do extra work beyond our job description, is it good? Now, it does depends a lot on the context. That's why Gary bring up the issue of the industry. You see, that's why organizational culture is so important. When you get into a company, now, especially in the media world, because now we are in media management class, right? If let's say you are in a PR agency, advertising agency, film production, digital media production company, newspaper, magazines, and all of these, right? These are all industries where you are expected to work very, 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 very hard, very fast. Okay, so now in the situation where, like what Gary said, in the real world, when you get into working world, your manager will always ask you to do something that is beyond your job scope. And even let's say we think about it from the perspective of the manager. Let's say if you today you are a manager and you realize that you have so many projects that you need your team to complete, but you are understaffed or you do not have enough manpower, what would you do? As a manager, obviously, you will tell your staff to do things which is beyond their job scope, right? Now, is it a must for your employee to say yes? No. If you were to say, remember this, as an employee always have their job description. They always have what their scope is. The moment they are asked to do beyond their job scope, that you have to make it very clear that it is a favor to the company rather than a must. All right? That's how ideally it should be. People only do things within their job scope. However, because of the competitiveness of the working environment, if let's say there are a lot of people who are willing to take over the job, let's say your salary is pretty good for the things that you are doing, you will be given, you are expected to do things which are beyond your job scope. That is why it is very, very important for you when you go for a job interview to know and to ask. So, do I usually ask to do things that is beyond my job scope to help other people, for example, so that you know what to expect? If you are getting into a company where everybody does things beyond their job scope, then believe me, it will become expected of you. You may vent, you may be angry, you may be dissatisfied, and you may say, this is not what is within my job description. But sorry, at the end of the day, it is what the manager expectation that is important, right? That is the real working world. Now, on the other hand, you as an employee, do you do more than is expected? You have to take into few things into consideration. One, in the first place, are you managing well with your own job scope? The mistake of many people who are working, especially those who just started out, is that they are trying to please everybody. They are trying to help everybody to show that they are very useful, right? So they, oh, can you help me? Of course. Yeah, can you help me? Yes, of course. So you go around helping everybody. And the question is, because you want to show that you are a team player, I'm good. I'm always very helpful. I'm a very good person. I want to please everybody. Like what Gary said, most of us, we are social creatures that we want to please people. That, to me, uh, should not be overdone. Okay? Why do I say that? First of all, make sure you cover your own job scope well. Whenever you are asked to do beyond your job scope, ask yourself, am I able to do the things within my job scope excellently first? If currently in my job scope, whatever that is needed to be done, yeah, I'm coping pretty well with it. I may be busy, I'm coping pretty well with it. And yes, I think I do have extra space to be able to help people. By all means, then go ahead, right? There's nothing wrong offering your help, because then you are considered to be a versatile worker, you're considered to be a team player. But you must ensure that your own job scope is covered first. Secondly, this is something I learned the hard way, okay? Sharing from experience that I am the kind of person that I find it extremely hard to say no to people. I really want to help everybody, and I think even until today, I am still like that. I am the type of person that, first of all, I find it very difficult to say no to other people, and secondly, I always find it very difficult to be the one that go and give other people something to do. All right, but that, if you are helping other people at the expense of your own mental sanity, if you are doing that to the extent that you are burnt out, you are too stressed, you are all over the place, then maybe it's time for you to understand that you are not coping well with all these overwhelming requests of help. You got to learn to say no if it begins to affect you personally. Okay, so that is how I feel personally. Uh, Remind yourself that it is not wrong to say no, especially when you have the solid reason why you are saying no. Okay, so please make sure that you are doing that. Of course, in long term, helping others is very beneficial for yourself, because very beneficial because you learn extra skill. I have seen people in my working environment for all these years. There are people who are like, like the moment anything that's not within their job scope, they're like, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. No, that is also a very bad attitude. Because at the end of the day, you only do things within what you know, and you're not learning anything new. That's also very bad. Okay, so please don't say no to every single thing that comes your way. All right, so you gotta have that right balance of covering your own job scope, and then to expand your skill, and that is the same. If you are a good manager, you would know whether a person has juggled well with their job, and whether this person can be put on extra work. So in a way, Gary, you should consider it an honor that you're getting extra job, because that also means that people think that you are capable of taking on the extra work. But again, when it becomes to a place where it's too much, then maybe it's time for you to step back. Now, also at the workplace, you can be very helpful, but everybody do also notice a side note, not everybody appreciates your help. There are some people that when you offer help, or if you help them in their work, they feel that you are overshining them. You're overshining them, you are trying to fight for a promotion, you are trying to gain the favor of the boss, and so on. That is a very sensitive part of working in an organization. So you have to open up your eyes, be very aware of how your colleagues are feeling, be very aware of your end job scope, you know. So you have to take a step and analyze first before you take on more. Okay. But at the end of the day, taking on more is helpful for yourself to learn more things lah, if you were to ask me. And of course, it does help with promotions, and in getting a good impression with your boss. Of course, that helps. All right. So yeah, hope that kind of like explained a little bit. Okay. All right. Uh, if you only do what you can, you will never be more than what you are now. Shifu Kung Fu Panda. Really, Ida? Really? You're talking about Kung Fu Panda now? But good quotes, good quotes. You're right, yeah. So everybody watch more Kung Fu Panda, okay? But I always think Kung Fu Panda, much as I love Kung Fu Panda, I always think Kung Fu Panda is a very, very bad example. You know why do I say that? Because if you were to look at Kung Fu Panda, right, it seems like the panda just bumps his way into things, where he just like he doesn't really know anything, and then he just bumps his way, and yet somehow in his bumping he actually gets things through, just because he is the destined one. I don't think that's a very good moral to be teaching people, because at the end of the day, you don't get your way by bumping and not knowing what you're doing and blindly going into something. But well, maybe that's just me overthinking and overanalyzing a cartoon lah, huh? I'm a spoil sport when it comes to watching cartoon with me. Okay. Anyway, hope that answers the question. All right, let me just continue from where we left off. Okay. Now, yeah. So let's talk about organizational chart. Like I say, organizational chart in every company is actually very important, right? Because you kind of identify who is the boss, who is the subordinate, what is each group capable of, what is their task, who are they accountable to, you know. Chart is always very important because it gives you a visual of what this company's operation is like. Very clear status of who is responsible for what. And then if there's anything that goes wrong, you know immediately who to go to. And if there is a conflict between different departments, you can immediately see the problem because you have a proper organizational chart looking at it. But if let's say you don't have a proper organization structure, that don't see who is the authority, that do not indicate a communication flow, then there could be an issue. And sometimes people kind of misinterpret their distance and the hierarchy. You see, in a more formal company, maybe the power distance is a little bit higher or longer compared to a more informal kind of organization, the hierarchy could be closer, even though one can be a manager and a subordinate, but actually, there's not much of a differentiation there. So you have to understand all of these, right? Now, I just want to show all of you a different types of organizational structure that exist. This is what you call functional organization. If you look at it, right, it's like, okay, one person. This is a kind of flow that I'm sure all of you often see. Now, functional organization means, for example, like a newspaper organization. They actually go by, okay, so that's the chief editor. So under the chief editor, then you have someone who is HR department, and then you have a person who is covering the news department, another one who is covering the advertisement. Now, under the news department, you have a few different desks. For example, you have one desk who cover crime news, one desk that covers national news, another covers international news. This is a functional organization chart that basically you separate people by their function. Okay, so I think that's very straightforward. And this is always the typical kind of organization structure that you see in most big companies. Of course, it is sometimes it's very good, right? These are some of the advantages and disadvantages. Basically, at the end of the day, you have to understand that having a proper structure like this, right? It actually gives you a very stable kind of environment. Everybody knows what they're doing. You know how to develop the people for the position because you know exactly what the position requires. Things get to be very easy in terms of coordination because everybody knows their role. But of course, these also foster the need for interpersonal skill. You need to communicate department with department, and whoever that is expert in that field, you can actually mobilize them. But you see, the problem with having this kind of structure is that at the end of the day, your response rate may be very slow, especially if the organization is very big. One level, one level, one level, one level. You can see how many hierarchy there is. The longer the hierarchy is, of course, the more challenging it gets. And then it becomes so limiting, everybody just do the things that they are specialized in. People tend to fight among themselves when the chart becomes too complex, and it curbs creativity because if there's any new idea that comes up, right, it needs to go through so many layers before it even reaches the top. Now, this is another way of organization structure where you will see one director and then you have a project manager, the one that I mentioned earlier. It goes by project manager, and then you have just people who are under them. This is very informal, very fluid kind of structure where you actually place the people by whatever product you are selling or by whatever market you are aiming for. So some people in their company, for example, if let's say you are looking into a PR company, okay, a PR company, they may say, okay, if it is a local client, okay, you'll be managed by team one. If it is a China market, then we will actually go to team two. If it is a India market, it goes to team three. If it is a European country, it goes to team four. So some people, they segregate their companies by market, not by function, not by their role, but by market. So basically, everybody is doing the same thing, but they are doing it for different market. Okay, and then you will see all the people under them who are expert of that particular market. So they are very familiar with people in China, or they are very familiar with people in Europe, or they are very familiar with the local market. Or sometimes it can be by product. So maybe project manager one, he manages like the advertising of any beauty product. Project manager two, he is in charge of advertisement of household appliances, So they go by the product rather than the market. So these are different ways that different companies structure themselves. Now, what is the advantages of going by the product or going by the market? It's very good in the sense because everybody is responsible for their own product or for their own market. So you kind of learn everything within that business because you are doing A to Z for that market. But because everybody is looking at their own product, they are looking at their own thing, sometimes there could be no coordination between the different team. And then when, let's say, you are sharing the same resources, there can be conflict. Or there can be a job duplication. These two persons doing the same thing, only thing for different market. When actually they can be combined and one person can do both. So there's advantages and disadvantages to the product and market structure as well. Okay? And this one is matrix structure, where everybody reports to the director. Can you see that? If the project manager also reports to the director, the executive also reports to the director. The project manager is talking to executive one. Project manager 2 is talking to executive 1. Project manager 3 is talking to executive 1. So executive 2 has access to everybody. Executive 3 have access to everybody. So in another word, a matrix structure is where everybody is talking to everybody. Everybody is working together with everybody. Okay, that's what you call matrix structure. Now, a matrix structure means it's very good because why? It's very flexible. It encourages cooperation. Everybody is learning from everybody. And then the top management knows what is going on with everybody. And you get to mobilize people around. And people are usually more highly motivated because you are speaking to everybody and you are in charge of a good thing and you are learning together with everybody, and the main focus is always whatever output we need to come out. Now, matrix structure is always used in a smaller company, like I said, technology startups, small advertising agency, small PR company, or an online news portal that is very small, maybe just a Facebook page, right? So the smaller it is, the easier it is to do matrix structure. Of course, the bigger that you go, the harder it is to ever implement a matrix structure. Okay, and this one is wide span. Wide span is when, well, at one level, they have many layers. Wide span is always a kind of, for example, if let's say you look at Netflix, Netflix is quite wide span. Why? Because it's actually divided by all their different market. Right? And each market, they are all under the main person. And then it goes down and separate that each one of these wide span will have another large hierarchy under them. It's wide span, and you have another one that is vertical span. So it's different type, pretty similar, but wide span is they are trying their best to flatten the hierarchy. That means they don't want it to keep going so many layers. They try to keep the layer as short as possible, but on a vertical level, it's actually many different departments working together. So kind of like everybody is manager, everybody are directors. Okay, so that is wide span. Horizontal, vertical span, they try to go more structured down. All right. Now, vertical span is very similar to functional organization. Right? It's very similar, but the difference is that functional organization, they goes by function, whereas for vertical span, they just go by positions and power. Sometimes these two can be in the real world, right? Vertical span is functional span. It can be at the end of the day becoming the same thing. All right. Now, which one will ultimately be an effective span? We should be like, oh, okay, there's so many different structure available. Which one is the best? At the end of the day, the most effective one can be any of these structure. But what is important is that the people are trained, the people have clear delegation of their job, they got proper planning, you have a good standard that's being set, effective communication, personal contact, and leadership skill. If you have a good leader who communicates very well, it doesn't matter which structure you are, but of course, the structure matters to make sure that the organization runs at its most optimum level. But You can have the most ideal organization structure, but it fails because there's no good leader, no effective communication, or that things are very unclear. Everybody seems to be overlapping with each other. Okay. Now, uh, Peter Drucker is one of the famous people who are looking into organizational structure. Okay. He was saying that organizational structure is very important for things like clarity, to make sure that you save money, and then the most important thing is that if you want to run a company properly, you want to make sure everything is well organized, you definitely need a structure, right? Keep people in there, make sure people are good at what they are doing, make sure they know what decision they are supposed to do, make sure they know what is their direction. And as time goes by, you may restructure the structure depending on the needs of the time. So Peter Drucker is one of the main guy that you can look for. Okay. Now, which of this structure do you think work best for future media business model? From what we see, I want all of you to drop into the chat. Which one do you think is the best business model or the best organizational structure so far for the future media world? Do you think it's going to be vertical? Do you think it's going to be wide span? Do you think it's going to be functional, product market, matrix structure? Which one will it be? No input, no input. Why everybody got question today? Don't understand the structure. Can I have your input within the chat? Say, see what do you all think is the best? Functional structure. Why do you think functional structure is the best, Putri? Any explanation why you think it's good? Any other input? Function structure because one person shouldn't handle so many head of department. Okay. Agree with Gary. Okay. So basically, Gary and Putri is saying is that if you go by function, that means one person have a few person under them, few person under them. It works better because there's not just like just one person handling so many head of department. Any other but if it is your company, wouldn't you want to handle many heads of department? Haha. So that you know what's going on with everybody. Any other input from the rest of you? We have people like Yang Zi, Ziqiang, Yin Ya, Carrie, Jiawen, Yin Xue. Any input from our people? For small company, the product is king, you think? Okay, so Dalkin thinks that if let's say you are a small company, going by the product could be good. All right. Functional because it brings specialization. Very good input, Anja. The other person has any take? So far we have vote for functional. We have vote for product. Okay, product structure. These are the two most popular ones so far. Any other thoughts? Nobody seems to be choosing matrix, huh? Matrix structure. In future media organization, which one do you think is the most ideal kind of organization structure? I would say vertical span or functional because media entertainment has various job description. And it would be better if one person has specific specialization in particular department so that they can produce good quality performance. Wide span, because the 21st century needs a great deal of knowledge to work off. You must have a certain degree of knowledge before they can expand more view. Hmm. Let's take a look. So, if you were to look at the structure, right, most of you are choosing functional. We do have some votes for the product and market structure as well. Now, the comment by Anastasia and also Feng Ting got me thinking, because Anastasia say functional is good, but vertical span is also good. Okay. Functional, which is like that. Okay. I think most of you are still inclined to like the olden day kind of structure. Okay. But she said that it would be better if one person has a specific specialization so that they can produce good quality performance. So in other words, it's good to have be a person who is specifically good at one particular skill. Okay, so that's what she said is the benefit of doing, by functional, right? Now, however, Feng Ting says that wide span is suitable. Feng Ting is probably the first one to actually suggest wide span. Um, and I think this one, when she says 21st century need a great deal of knowledge to work, all of you must have a certain degree of knowledge before they can expand more field of work. I'm not sure exactly what you mean directly by that, Feng Ting, but I guess you can say that if you are wide span, the way how it increases the degree of knowledge is because you are very close to the boss and everybody is learning from everybody. So probably that's also a good approach, right? Would you say maybe matrix is also suitable? Okay. Hong Yi say for marketing, I think the best made is to use advertising for promotion. Hong Yi, I don't understand what you mean. The best mode is to use advertising for promotion. So how is that answering the question on the structure? I only have experience with vertical, so vertical, huh? So do you think vertical is good? Minye? How has your experience been so far? Yeah, so far so good. Okay, well, so it seems like vertical and functional seems to be the ideal set for the future media organization. Now that's a pretty surprising thing for me because I would assume that the younger generations will go by a product or market, or that all of you would think that you prefer wide span where there's less level of authority. But apparently not. Most of you are still thinking that if you are talking about a media company, it would still be good to have one that is based on your function and also to be more of the vertical ones, right? But a lot of, like I say, social media startups right now is going by product or by market. Okay. Now, is there, like I say, the best? Actually, so far, I think functional have been working very well for all the traditional media. Product and market structure seems to be ongoing now for all the online and digital media platform. But does it work well? I think everybody is still exploring. And they are slowly, of course, large company like Facebook, Netflix, Amazon Prime. If you were to look at shopping platforms like Taobao, if you were to look at Lazada, Shopee, WeChat, all these companies like like Alibaba and so on, we are all moving towards from a very product and market structure base. Now they are all moving towards functional as well. You can see within their structure. If you have time, right, just go and explore all these big company structure. because it's very interesting to see how different, even though they can be from the same industry, the way how they structure their company can be very, very, very different. Okay, and I think it's good to have an understanding, because when you become a manager, then you will know what is the best structure available. All right. Okay. Now, one now it's already 7:15. I'm sorry that functional could be an ideal structure for small business that focuses on product or services, because you can maximize the performance. Yes, to a certain extent. Yeah. Now I've seen models that focuses on specific products and markets, and that also can work, especially uh, because sometimes certain products can be so specialized. But I think in the media world, going by product or market may not be as relevant, especially now when we are moving towards globalization. Then it's becoming more and more absolute to say that, oh, this country is very different compared to that. Yes, it is true, still true. But I think slowly people are adjusting to the idea of global citizenship, that the distinction between different culture are closer in gap right now. It's like all of us know about K-pop. Even though we all come from different countries, we all know about K-pop. Those kind of things, right? We share a more larger scale of understanding with each other. Okay, all right. Is everybody still okay? Everybody need just a quick 5 minutes break. Maybe some of you would like to go for prayer and things like that. Is everybody okay? Do you want me to go on? You may still have a little bit more to go. Um, Probably just how many slides to go? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7 slides to go. Will you all want a 5 minutes break, or you all are good to continue? Please let me know. So Gary said continue. Good to continue. Anybody who needs a break? Good to continue. Okay, everybody is good to continue, huh? Let go. Okay, all right, let's continue then, okay? Now, so we have talked about a lot about structure, right? Well, feel free to take a toilet break if you need to, okay? Okay. Let's go back to here, yeah. All right. Now, in every single company, sometimes you have this issue of merger and acquisition. Now, why do I bring this topic up? Because right now, I'm telling you, worldwide, this practice is happening consistently. For example, Facebook owning Instagram, Facebook buying over WhatsApp. You have all these giant companies who are overtaking or merging themselves with the smaller companies, right? This is now, what's the difference between merging and acquisition? Merging, of course, means A and B come together, right? They merge, they become one. So two become one. Acquisition, one big company buy over the smaller company. You purchase the smaller company. Now, merger usually you is combining into one, where you will then come up with a new identity. Acquisition, the main boss is still the main boss. Whoever that they buy will go under them. That's the difference. So one is combining, one is buying. Okay. Now, there's different types of merger. One is that there's horizontal merger, where if let's say you are the same business type, you actually combine together. For example, Exxon Mobil, right? Now, of course, Mobil, sorry. Now, of course, horizontal mergers in the case of, let's say, for ourselves, right? For media organization, when you buy over your competitors, that's why people like Facebook, they actually buy over Instagram, right? To combine. So that's what you call horizontal merger. Now, vertical merger is when you are a food, you are a restaurant, you buy over a fish farm, so that the fish farm can produce the fish you need for your restaurant. That's vertical merger, where you buy something within not the same business as you, but is involved in producing or supplying you with the things that you need in your business. Conglomerate mergers are basically people who merge with completely unrelated business activity. For example, you have a General Electric company who is buying the NBC television. In the case of like countries, for example, like in Philippines, you have politician or business tycoon who go and buy a TV channel. I think same case in Indonesia as well. Okay, that is what you call conglomerate merger. They buy something completely unrelated, or they merge with someone completely unrelated. Concentric merger is when people merge, their business are different, but you have some parts where you are similar in terms of function, then you merge together. That's what you call concentric merger. It's just like a bank buying over an investment banker or stock brokerage operation. Okay, so there is different these four different types of mergers in the market, right? Now, what about acquisition? This is all, sorry if I use the word buying. Actually, it's about merging, all right? Wrong usage of word is merging, not buying, because you're merging together, right? Now, what about buying, acquisition? You see, when a company A buy over company B, 50% of acquisition in the market is not successful. I give you a very good recent example. Um, wait, I see comments. Somebody commented, one become two or more. Yeah, like Grab and Gojek merger. Yes, that's right. So you all get the idea, right? Like Grab and Gojek, they are merging together. Okay, all right. But acquisition, I give an example of what's currently happening in Malaysia. Okay, Malaysia, we do have a channel called NTV7. Well, NTV7 is like free to air TV. That means you can watch it for free, right? It's under Media Prima Berhad. However, recently they had an issue because nobody really watches free to air television anymore. NTV7 is struggling to survive. And then there's this idea of turning them into just a full educational, like kids education or whatever channel. But the people within NTV7 disagree to that. And eventually, I think that did not happen. So you see, in a lot of cases, right, when company A tried to buy over company B, 50% of acquisition are not successful. Why? Okay, this whole concept of buying over acquisition, company A buying B, can be friendly. Sometimes company B say, "Oh, I love it that somebody wants to just come and buy my company." But it can be hostile sometimes. Sometimes company A that is big and they have money, they take advantage of the situation and they say, "Oh, you are now in trouble. I would like to buy you," and it can be pretty hostile. Now, sometimes when we say it's friendly, that means it's upon negotiation. So company A is negotiating with company B. So okay, hey, you buy me, then at this price, we are willing to. This is how you're gonna buy us. Hostile means sometimes the board or the management, you have people within the board of management who is not willing to be bought. Or sometimes they didn't even know company A is buying them. Now, how does this situation happen? Is when sometimes people are buying through the stock market or the share market, for example. Okay, when you buying company A, keep buying company B share, and eventually they become rich enough to overtake the company, or they have enough shares to overtake the company. So that is kind of like a hostile takeover because this unexpected, it comes without the knowledge, you're not willing to be bought. So acquisition can get very tricky because sometimes even the negotiation may or may not be successful, right? Yeah, so we talked about merger earlier. If A entertainment company partner with B entertainment, is similar with merging. Now, Anastasia, Partnering, oh, that's a very good question. Um, okay, before I explain, anybody wants to give their input on this? What is the difference between merging and partnering? Merger is a total new company, Feng Ting say. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any other input? Difference between merging and partnering. Okay, very good, Gary. Partnering is each company still holds decision power. Merger is like a rebranding exercise and coming out with a new image. Okay. Partnering is like a collaboration on a project. Very good. Okay, right. So I think the answers are all here. So Anastasia, to answer your question, right? Partnering is okay. We let Feng Ting finish her idea first. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Just put in your input. Partnering is working together. Okay. All right. Now, let me explain. Okay. Well, when company A decided to partner company B, partnership is always is working together, right? And usually when you say you work together, it always based on a specific project, right? It's always based on a specific project. So let's say, oh, for this huge event of 5,000 people, entertainment company A is partnering entertainment company B, and they are working together for this particular project. It's always project based. Secondly, there is the partnership is not long term. Partnership is never long term. And you still hold your own, like what Gary said, your own decision making. So at any point, company A still can do whatever they want from their perspective. Company B still also can do whatever they want within their own scope. So they are each still their own company. But when you merge means A and B becomes one. When you become one, that means decision making has to be shared between the two of you, and legally, in the legal side, you are appearing as one company rather than two. So you no longer are able to hold decision making, and it is not a short-term project-based thing. It is a long-term merging. Long-term merging means that's why, like what Ida mentioned, you have to ended up coming out with a new image. A and B combined together, they become something new. But partnership, you are still on your own. Okay. I hope that clears out the confusion of Anastasia. Very good input from all of you. Thank you very much. Clear, pretty clear out there. Okay, very good. Now, at the end of the day, why does all these media organize today, right? If you were to look around the world, there's a lot of media organization that's really huge. For example, CNN, BBC, Disney, and then you have a slightly smaller ones like Netflix, Amazon Prime. All these are coming up, and then you also have all these large PR agencies that are based in New York and so on. And at the end of the day, social media companies like Facebook, Instagram combining, you have smaller ones like Twitter and the rest, right? Media is so large the scope. It's so hard for me to give a specific example. But at the end of the day, why is it that people want to merge or why they want to buy smaller company? First of all, they merge when they see that, oh, by working together, we will be reducing a lot of redundant department. And when you merge two companies together, you can cover larger scope, right? And your revenue, of course, the bigger your company is, the more revenue you get, the better market share you get. And at the end of the day, it's really about fully utilizing everybody within the two companies. When you merge or when you buy, you get the expert from, let's say, company A by company B. That means I'm also getting the expert from company B into my company A. So you are working together. There's a synergy where if company A and B have, they can benefit one another. And actually, when you merge or when you buy, you reduce your amount of tax. You see, big companies, they are taxed a lot. So when they merge or when they buy a new company, it reduces their tax. So when you share, you cover larger scope, but yet at the same time, you are reducing your tax. That means your profit margin is higher, you're earning more money. Okay? These are practical reasons why people merge or buy. Okay? Now, well, let's just now all come back and okay, I do have some articles. Let's just not look into all four because it's now 7:32. Let me just quickly hold on, yeah. Okay, can all of you see within the chat that I actually post two different links? One is from variety.com, one is from atlantic.com. Um, I give you all a quick 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just to run through these two articles, okay? Um, what I want all of you to do is just think about what the management can do in these two cases. Now, 7:33, we'll come back in 7:38. Okay, I'll give you all a quick 5 minutes to read through. Okay, all right, everybody. Oh, Joe, you hear the music that I was playing just for relaxing time. Hope everybody is back. And are you all back in? Have you all read the two article? No sound. Everybody okay? You teleport yourself to a spa center. Yeah, that's the idea while you're reading, to relax all of you. It's after all almost 8 p.m., right? And here we are working hard on your class. Yeah. So, everybody read the article? So, still thinking. Okay, very good. All right. Now, the first article, okay? Let's take a look at the first article. Um, okay, the first article talks about how traditional radio faces a grim future. New study says, right? Now, so what it was talking about was that, okay, today, radio seems to be looking more and more grim. Not many people are actually listening to radio, and that people are less and less interested in radio stations, right? Obviously, now all of you, I think you have your Spotify, you have your podcast. So therefore, radio becomes something that is quite obsolete nowadays, right? And see, even by 2020, 75% of new cars are expected to be connected to digital services. I'm sure all of you in your car right now, you don't no longer need to just listen to radio. You can choose to listen to your own podcast, you can choose your own Spotify, you can Bluetooth your own music in, and therefore, and with the changes of cars especially, now more and more cars are not even installed with proper radio stations. So radio stations are really slowly phasing out, and everybody is doing streaming. So therefore, radio industry worldwide, okay, is facing what they call the global warming level, okay, for radio industry to upgrade or face obsolescence, right? Now, unless the industry is set to make peace with a long and inevitable decline, radio needs to invest in strong and compelling digital services. Now, from the article that you'll read, can I have your input on what do you think radio stations can do right now to revitalize themselves? To make sure they are remaining competitive, to make sure that they are still within the market. Think about your own local radio stations wherever you are. You can be a Malaysian, you can be Indonesian, you can be Philippines, you can be from China, right? Uh, I think you have Anja. Anja is from Maldives, right? So you even have different students from different countries. Now think about your own local radio station in your country. Obviously, this, like I say, is a global thing that's happening. What can they do? Get on Spotify, YouTube live stream platform. They can record their sessions as podcasts. Okay, Minye and Gary, please hold on to this idea, yeah? Okay, because later I do have some comments on this idea that I want people to think further. But we will talk about it a little later. Just hold that thoughts. Any other thoughts? Find the right position and put the target group on car owners and middle-aged and elderly people. But Feng Ting, as mentioned, car owners are now all also moving towards digital podcasts. That's why one of the things that the article brought up was talking about how cars nowadays are changing, the way how radios are even being placed into the cars. So that is one thing that poses quite a lot of challenge, because radio really does depends on your drive-by time, because we always listen to radio while we are driving, right? So after work traffic, that's why they call it the peak time for radio people. because peak hours is at 4 to 6 o'clock, and as well as 6 to 10 a.m. that people are traveling to work. The elderly in China likes to hold the radio to listen all the time. Oh, they still do. That's very good. At least there's a market for the elderly. Well, of course, I think Feng Ting's idea of keeping to the older generation is a good idea. Wow, wow. I love the comment. Okay, let's just read. So Putri said, in my opinion, I think the media company need to shift into digital, like it or not. As they mentioned about the research of Gen X projected, half of them have no interest in traditional media. They want to survive, they need to adapt with how consumers use media nowadays. For example, have official account in Clubhouse so that they will have two-way interaction with audience, unlike traditional radio. This phenomenon is also more obvious in China. The main audience of radio music is driver. Currently, the broadcasting industry is facing difficulty in transformation because it's controlled by the government. Due to special political reason, they cannot freely produce media content. Now, the broadcasting industry in almost all of China is at loss, from state subsidies to political propaganda too. Smartphone is hard to old people to use, so they use radio. Duncan, I think that was a wonderful observation. I think you have basically summed up a lot of things because, of course, this is very prominent in China. But I also want to let all of you know that, you see, whether the traditional media survive or not, it also largely depends on the political scenario of the country. So in China, obviously, the difficulty or the dilemma of the broadcasting is always the control by the government. So when the government is very controlling of the broadcast, therefore they are unable to produce content which are revitalizing, creative, or to even really fully speak up what the audience wants them to talk about. Um, so there's a strong challenge there politically in the case of China, right? Queenie say maybe they should specialize themselves. People listen to in-demand podcasts, so radio should try to branch out so they can target their target audience. Maybe hits can split into hits health, hits senior, hits Gen X, etc. Some DJ also do live in TikTok. God, wow, that's such a sad statement. God can't save China's broadcasting industry. Duncan, don't say until like that. Nah, it sounds so sad when you say that God can't save China in broadcasting industry. I'm sure things will be fine. It's just in every country that happens. Jinghan, the radio can only rely on sound output. It's not brilliant in the form of presentation. Yeah, Jinghan, you are right because you see nowadays, right? The importance of multimedia, right? That means visual combined with sound, combined with interactivity. Everything has to be in place, and radio is like lacking of all visual, lacking of interactivity. It's very very challenging for the radio to survive. But I think ideas, for example, like what Queenie is mentioning, to actually create in-demand podcasts could be relevant. Okay, now I think a few of you bring up how these radio stations should move on to like the online streaming kind of idea. Okay, again, I want all of you to hold on to the idea, yeah, until we talk about the second article. Now, let's look into the second article. Hold on, yeah. Okay, all right. Now, the second article was really more about American local news, and I think this is a good article to reflect that what is happening globally. How many of you read newspaper? How many of you? Confession time. Who reads newspaper in here? No, no, me. Anastasia, I'm sure they will be so happy. Nay, nay, from Ming nay. Gary said no. Xavier said no. Anastasia said, I need the paper. Carrie said no. So, wow. Thank God, Anja, at least you read it sometimes. Yeah, when you know no Feng Ting when I was a child, really Feng Ting. You're still not that old, you know. Can I still consider you a child? No lah, you're an adult now. Corner say no, Zichan say no, Jinghan say 5 minutes. Yes, okay. Yin Ya say no, no. See, everybody said no to reading newspaper, right? No wonder the title goes "Local news is dying," and Americans have no idea. I think all of us have no idea too, right? Anyway, the point is this, okay? I think this whole article, if you were to read it through, right, you will realize that people are also talking about local radio being cannibalized by all these online streaming, and then at least TV people are still watching, but newspaper seems to really struggle with the issue. Where, but the idea is this: is a the traditional newspaper journalism. They always think that they are the professional journalists, right? They write very professionally. They put quality into their work and all of that, you know. And then yeah, of course now you first of all of these applies across the board, whether it's radio or newspaper. We have to acknowledge that it is the older generation who are still reading the hard copy or still using the traditional radio. Of course, one of the business model is that they are still aiming for all this older generation, especially when it comes to newspaper, right? So you can still see physical hard copy newspapers selling on the road, and that's really in order to assist older people who seem to have digital gap. Okay, um, which if you think about it, it's pretty sad because you see in this digital world, um, one very important thing we all need to acknowledge is the digital gap, especially older people who are unable to catch up with the digital world. They seem to be missing out a lot of things that are ongoing because of their inability to cope with the technology itself, and that's sad. And therefore, the existence of this all traditional radio and newspaper does serve its purpose for the older generation. Okay. Yeah, local newspaper can shift to digital. They can still be producing newspaper, but only in few areas and location where they are more senior citizen or area that have hard access to the internet. Yeah, Puchi is just basically highlighting again what I was just mentioning, right? And I think that's a lot of the business model of a lot of newspaper today, that they are still trying to reach people. Well, you can say that they are doing their social responsibility, but still producing. But of course, they are really dying. Now, final question. You see, whatever we mentioned today in the class, do the industry know? The radio people, do they know? They know. Do the people in the newspaper industry know that they're dying? They don't. Fact is, let me ask you, which traditional newspaper is right now not on the digital platform? They are. But my question is, so many radio stations is also trying to move towards podcasts. They do. But why they are still dying? It seems like they are unable to transit into the digital world so smoothly. All the traditional newspaper you can now find it on a digital copy, but they are still dying. All the radio stations are available on podcast, they are still dying. What is the issue? Do anyone has any take on this? The ability to choose what kind of entertainment they want from the customer ends are responsible, I guess. Okay, so that means what you're saying is that much as they are moving, but they are dying because the consumers have the ability to choose the platforms or the entertainment that they want. Yeah, the issue could be too many news company on social media. Okay, very good. Any other input on the issue? The cost of traditional newspaper is higher. New technology, people interests are changing. Okay, okay. I'm just waiting for anyone's input. Okay. Is that someone screaming behind? Who? Wait, Gary, don't scare me. Where got someone screaming behind? Got some? Could be my son somewhere outside. But I'm not hearing it. Okay. Anyway, all right. So the comment stops there. Gen Z are accustomed to digital media to obtain information. Well, you see, let's just acknowledge this, okay? I think all of you bring up a few points about the audiences nowadays. Huh? Number one, our generation is very accustomed to online news, digital news. That's very true. Number two, like what Gary says, people nowadays have not much of interest in words, or even radio stations are struggling because it's only sound, no visual, right? That too is, of course, the main reason why the traditional media is it's difficult for them to survive, right? Thirdly, the fragmentation of the audience. One of the largest problem that has been mentioned earlier. I think one of you brought up a very good point when you say, uh, Gary, the issue could be too many news company on social media. You have you have too many companies on and who are giving news on social media. And not to mention, like what Putri said, you come in, you have so many people who are so easy to set up a news portal. Just set an Instagram account and then they call themselves a news portal. And besides that, of course, if you want people to go specifically to a website, I think just now Anastasia was saying that, hold on, yeah, there was one is proper for people more, okay, people excited. Yeah, anyway, audience interest is also no longer uniform. The fragmentation of the audience. You see, you and I, right? I think we have 30 of you in this class, right? 30 of you in this class, if I were to ask you, hey, what do you watch on YouTube? Or what do you watch on your social media? All of you could be watching different things. Whereas once upon a time when you were 5 years old or 6 years old, everybody watched TV, everybody is interested in the same thing. Everybody knows the same cartoon, where everybody knows the same advertisement. Now it's no longer that way. Advertising industry as well is like so difficult to survive now because people can block advertisement and all of that. The spread of information speed is one that is obviously one that is very important that we're talking about. Now, so all of these challenges, they create a world where, let me share with you my take on it, is where, first of all, traditional media, like all these online news portal, they are trying to come back and to try to go into all these traditional media, they are trying to make themselves to go online, right? So they're going to become digital newspaper. However, a lot of these traditional newspaper company, they are adopting the same business model as they do from their traditional structure. So when you use back the same structure, you use back the same idea and you move it to a digital platform, hoping that it will work, it doesn't. Okay. And also at the same time, when you talk about the moving on to new platform, a lot of the management of this traditional media, whether they are radio or they are newspaper, they seem to get this, mentality. They seem to get stuck in this mentality of how can I release the news? Oh, how can it be? Oh, all these social media platforms, they're so rubbish in the way they write. They're not writing professionally. We need to maintain our professionalism, which is true to a certain extent, yet that makes them lose out in the competitiveness of the business. My dears, once upon a time, when things go on news, oh, it's properly cut and edited videos. But today, all of you will prefer, oh, when there's a building that collapses, all of you will rather go on your Instagram or your social media to see a shaking camera, someone who taking a shaking camera and say, you see what happened to the building, right? You prefer to see that than a visually attractive edited video. So all of this is at the end of the day, I just want to say that you cannot, a lot of these traditional media are not surviving well because they try to use their old methods and structure when they shift to digital. It's really not just shifting to digital, it's really about the shifting of the audiences, the shifting of the patterns of consumption. Okay, and more people are interested in what's happening worldwide. Most of the local newspaper that shift into digital are covering and focusing on local news. That also can be an issue. Okay, so yeah, well, we have covered all of that, right? It's just that at the end of the day, you and I, we are living in a very exciting time of seeing all these changes happening. Um, and I think it's good for you to go into the industry, whichever it is, considering the changes of the audiences, considering the changes of consumption patterns. None nowadays generation, if you're talking about reading news, most of you will not read past the headline. So how do you attract people to read your headline and to stay on and to continue reading your content? That's why people come up with this idea of clickbait, viral posts, right? So how do you keep people engaged? That's the issue. Okay, so Mingya is sharing about Newswave that combines all the news companies in Malaysia all into one place, allow people to share, allow people to comment. Handy, but of course, is it working well and does it bring high profit margin to the newspaper companies that are in there? That's again to see whether the company can survive or not, right? So yeah, these are just some sharing, some reflections that we can see. Uh, so today I think we cover a lot of topics, right? From the structure, we talk about merging, acquisition globally, and then we talk about the survival of the organizations today. Well, I think that's a lot that we cover within the 2 hours. Okay, all right. Now, that would be the end of the class in terms of teaching. Let's now one last thing before we go off. Does anybody still have questions on your assignment that you would like to ask? For those who do not, wait, hold on, before anything, let's take your attendance, people. Uh, okay, please open up your cams. So while you all are posting your questions into the chat box, what we're going to do is that we're going to take your attendance, all right? Poor Rafiza. Rafiza, make sure you bug KPM, okay? You tell KPM I cannot enter my attendance and your times. Spell it out. Yeah. Rafiza's back at them. Anastasia, back at them. Good, Putri. Queenie, do that, bug them, ah. Oh yeah. Mingye, to answer your question, as long as your friend is still broadcasting, she can. Okay. Uh, okay. Now we have total of 22 of you. Anyone who's still okay? 23 of you who's still. Can we send the essay earlier to get feedback before submission? Of course, Gary. That's definitely part of the package. You can, when you are done, please feel free to just send to me. Okay. Now, wait. Okay, let's start from. So Putri asked, is there a maximum limit of word count? No maximum limit of word count, but try not to exceed too much. You know, Putri. Otherwise, then I will read and I'll get headache reading. Right. Keep it precise, concise, accurate. Lots of page does not mean quality. I always tell my student, can we actually go to uni and use the postgraduate lounge? Really, Gary, the thing is, I've not been back for 1 year. Yeah, I'm not sure what is happening. Next week, I think somewhere on Tuesday only, I will be moving back to campus just to like go and see what has happened for the past 1 year. So I'm not sure if we can use the postgrad lounge, but you can try to ask Campus Central when you ask them how to go into campus. Doctor, if you conduct interviews, do you have to write down the interviewee's answer? Queenie, of course you have to. If everyone who is conducting interviews with the broadcaster and so on, please make sure you record the audio of the interview, or you have if let's say you interview them via chats or anything like that, please make sure you have a record of it. Otherwise, when you want to do your report, you got nothing or the exact word of the person to back you up. Okay, so you need to make sure that you actually have the transcript from the interview. Okay. Queenie Ming, yeah, okay. Can we cannot confirm the submission date? Yeah, it's 18 of March, right? Wait, hold on. Media management assignment 1. Let me double check the deadline for you. Yeah lah, I didn't put down. Yeah, 18th of March, correct. So 18th of March, yeah, deadline for the first one. Ha, that's very long. What is very long, Gary? Yeah, I haven't been back to campus for a year. Okay, so I'm excited to know what's going on in the campus as well. I will let all of you know next week, okay, what happened. Another lecture is 16 March. Yeah. That's always the checkpoint, man, thing. Okay, everybody. So thank you very much for today's class. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. I will see all of you next Thursday for the next class, okay? So good luck for your assignment. Feel free to email me. Again, I apologize that sometimes the responses to your email may be a little late because, I have so many emails coming in and ongoing at the same time. So I try my best, like if you send me an email, I always get back to you before the following class takes place, right? Thank you very much, everybody. So I'll see you around next Thursday, okay? So goodbye, everybody.
Hi, Doctor. It's Nurul. I actually have just one last question.
Yes, Putri.
So, uh, is it okay if I send you my draft, but it's not complete yet? But for now, I just kind of like stuck because I have so many information, but I'm not sure how to maximize. Put all together the information into the page. So I'm just afraid to excess the word limit.
And you just send me your draft and you list down your questions where you are stuck, so that I will be able to explain to you how you can move further from there.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Doctor.
All
Have a
right.
great
Thank you,
night.
Putri. You too. Have a good weekend, everybody. See you all.